Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Dewi Krima. In here, I would like to present about my reading report about novel. In here, I have read a novel. Title is The Giver. This novel was written by Lois Lowry and published at 1993 in the country United States and used language English, genre young adult fiction, dystopian novel, science fiction. The Giver won the 1994 Nobel Medal and has sold more than 12 million copies worldwide as of 2018. In Australia, Canada, and the United States, it's on many middle school reading lists. But it is also frequently challenged and it ranks number 11 on the American Library Association list of the most challenged book on the 1919 2012 survey based in the US. Designated in the fourth best children's novel of all time. The summary. The Giver is about an 11-year-old boy who lives in a special community. When the story begins, he wonders if what he feels is fear. Then he decides it can't be. Frightened is too strong a word. He remembers when the whole community was frightened because a pilot had flown over last year. The man has turned away from the community or release, which is the worst thing that can happen to a person. Jonas' community is very structured. Loudspeakers struck out keyboard orders all day. Since his society values accurate language, Jonas decides he is apprehensive about what is going to happen in December, not frightened. That night, after dinner, Jonas and his family observe their nightly ritual of discussing their feelings. His little sister, Lily, admits that she felt anger toward a kid at school. A group of seven were visiting and they didn't follow the rules. Jonas and Lily both laughed when he asked if they were acting like animals since neither of them know what the word means. They just now describe someone uneducated or clumsy, someone who didn't find fit in. Her parents helped her to understand that the boy probably felt out of place, which helped Lily to let go of her anger. Then, Jonah's father, who is a nurturer, speaks up about a baby that is not performing well. He thinks they may have to release it. The family talks about taking care of the baby for a while. They cannot adopt it because every family is only allowed to have one boy and one girl. Married couples are matched by the community too. Jonas reveals his feeling of apprehension about the upcoming ceremony of 12 when he will decide a career and he can live as an adult. Every December, the children are moved to the next year, regardless of when they were born in the year. So every first year move up to 2 years and so forth. 50 children are born each year. Now children spend their first year in the nurturing center. At the ceremony of one, the babies are assigned to a family unit and given a name along with the number they were assigned at birth. His father reveals that he had taken a peek at the baby's name in hopes that it would help him develop faster. Although some older children will break rules and teach their younger siblings how to read a book before the ceremony of 9 when they are given a break. Jonas is surprised his father would break even the smallest of rules. His parents tell Jonas not to be concerned with the career he will be assigned. The elders keep an eye on the 11 while they are in school and doing the required volunteer work, so they can determine what their strengths are. Jonas is concerned also for his friend, Azar. His parents inform him that He makes lost touch with the friends he has known, and makes new ones when he trains in his new career. Soon Lily comes back in the room. She is looking for her comfort object, a stuffed elephant that is issued by the community. The children know these are imaginary creatures and Jonas has had a bear. When their father brings the baby named Gabriel home to stay a few nights with them, Lily points out that Jonas and Gabriel have the same eye color. This is actually a rude comment to make sense. It is considered rude to point out difference in people. But most people have dark eyes. Lily picks baby and says she would like to be a bird mother when she is old enough. But her mother quells this idea by pointing out that bird mothers only serve for 3 years. Then they are given hard labor until they are old enough for the house of the earth. Besides, they are never allowed to see their baby. Later, while Jonas is listening to the speakers, he remembers one time when he broke a rule, and it was announced on the loudspeaker. Jonas and his friend Arthur had been playing catch when he noticed the apple he was about to eat. He changed briefly, although it appeared to be the same shape. Since and nondescript color as before, it had been different for a few seconds. Arthur never saw the change, but Jonas took the apple home so he could investigate, even though snakes are to be eaten, not hoarded. Jonas was ashamed and threw the apple away. Apologizing to the recreation director the next day before school, since he, since he couldn't put words to what happened with the apple, Jonas forgot about it. The Act 11 are required to volunteer as a helper in various places so they can discover what they like. One this day, Jonas is sent to the house of the earth. Jonas notices Arthur pick out front. Jonas is assigned to the job of helping an old woman with her pet. Only the very young and the very old are allowed to be viewed with no clothes on. While he is attending her, the old woman talks about another man there that was released. They had a little party for him, where he was toasted and they did a narration of his life. After that, he blissfully went through the door to be released. The old woman doesn't know what is on the other side of the door, but it looking forward to her time to find out. She thinks it must be wonderful and cannot understand why children are not allowed to attend. Every morning, everyone in Jonas' family discusses their dreams for the night before. Usually, Jonas does not have anything to report, but this time he tells about a dream he had the night before. He had been in the bathing room with his friend Fiona and was trying to get her to take her clothes off. Jonas told his mother the dream gave him strange feelings. His mother told him that was normal for a boy his age. It's called stirring. She gave him a small pill to take every morning and pushed that he must never forget to take them. Since Jonas noticed that his parents took the pill every day, as well as a few of his other friends, he assumes this is another sign he is growing up. It is finally time for the ceremonies to begin. The new children are taken from the nurturers and given to the family. Gabriel will stay with Jonas' family another year since he has not developed enough for placement. He is not as big as other babies and does not sleep through the night. Each member of Jonas' family had to sign an agreement that they would not become attached to Gabriel, but so far he has not been released. There is a murmur or replacement ceremony. A family lost their 4-year-old son, Caleb. When he fell in the river, they will be given a new Caleb. At the river, the community had done a murmuring sound that went from loud to soft. Then, when the new Caleb was given at the ceremony, the community did a murmuring sound that went from soft to loud. Other milestones are celebrated at the ceremony. Servants are given a jacket they can button themselves. 9 are given beaks and girls can remove the ribbons from their hair. 10s will all get haircuts, but for the 11, like Jonas, their careers will be placed by the elders. Although the 11s are anxious, they know they can choose elsewhere and disappear if the career given to them does not work for them and they do not fit in. But Jonas cannot imagine choosing elsewhere. He is confident the elder will give him the perfect career. Jonas and the rest of the 11 line up by number to be assigned their career. His friend, Ajay, is given the job of Assistant Director of Recreation. All of the other children were happy with their assignment, but the elders skipped Jonas' number. Jonas became concerned as well as the audience. They were not used to disorder. After the assignments are finished, the elder eases all their worries by telling them that Jonas has been given the job of the receiver of memory. The community only has one at a time, and the old one, with a long beard, is like Jonas and sitting with the elders, must train a successor. 10 years ago, the successor they chose failed. When they noticed Jonas as possible receiver, they began to closely watch his development. The receiver of memory must be intelligent, have integrity and courage, but most of all, he must have the capacity to see beyond. The audience accepts his as the new receiver by counting his name. This causes mixed feeling. Jonas is proud, but also afraid since they warned him training for his position would cause pain, something no one ever feels. Later, when he asks his parents, who are treating him with respect, what happened to the receiver 10 years ago, they tell him the ghost is not to be spoken. This means he suffered the lowest disgrace. When Jonas reads over the sheet of rules of was given, he discovers that the rules of rudeness don't apply to him. He can ask any question of anyone and must answer it. He cannot discuss his training or his dreams with anyone. He cannot take medication unless it is for the illness unrelated to training, and he cannot apply for relief. He is also allowed to leave, since he will have very little time for recreation. Jonas wonders what will happen to his friendship. All of this worries him, especially the idea of the pain without relief or medication. But he cannot imagine lying. He was taught from an early age to speak with precision and accurately. He was not allowed to even embellish, use exaggeration or figures of speech. Then Jonas wondered how many people he knew that lived. Jonas is led into the receiver's house for training. The first thing he notices is that the door is locked. No one locks their doors. Then he sees a beautiful room. The walls lined with leather-bound books. In every other house in the community, there are only three books: a dictionary, the community volume, and a book of rules. The receiver greets his as the new receiver and explains what will happen. He must transmit all his knowledge to Jonas, and although he looks odd, he is not. He hopes he has enough energy to finish Jonas' training. At first, Jonas thinks that he will just hear stories from an old man, but the receiver tells him that he will transfer memories of the whole world, going back through generations of receivers. He tells Jonas that the wake of the memories is like snow filling up on a sail, but Jonas has never seen snow because of his controlled climate. He does not even know what a hail is because all the ground is level for efficiency. So the other super touch Jonas on the back and transmit a memory of a raid on a sled in the snow. Afterward, the receiver tells Jonas the memory is an old one from before some minutes. Then he gives Jonas the feeling of sunshine. When Jonas asks him about the pain, the receiver gives him the pain of a minor sunburn. As Jonas is leaving, he asks the old man what he should call him, and he replies, Giver. The next day, as Jonas and Fiona are reading to their job, Jonas notices a change happening to Fiona's hair. When he asks the giver about it, he is told he is seeing the color red. The reason the thread always looks red in his memory is because back then the world had more color. But when the world acquired the improvement they enjoy, some things were sacrificed, including color. As Jonas' training progresses, he sees more colors, but when he tries to share them of his knowledge with anyone else, they cannot understand. When Jonas asks the giver if he had a wish, he replies that he did, but has come to live with the childless adult, as everyone does when their children reach adulthood. He tells Jonas that having a family is hard for a receiver because he cannot share his books or memories. 10 years ago, when the other receiver felt the memories escaped to the community and caused everyone great pain until they could be retrieved, Jonas' job will be to process the memory and give advice to the elders from time to time. Jonas noticed that the giver seems to be in pain, so the giver decided to give some of the pain to Jonas so it will lessen for himself. The memory he gives Jonas is of a broken leg from the sled trip. The pain stays with him somewhat as he limps home. The giver continues to transmit painful memories to Jonas, but ends each session with a memory of pleasure. One day, Jonas asks the giver what his favorite memory is, and he is given the memory of family around a Christmas tree. For the first time, Jonas sees what a grandparent is. In the community, children have no contact with their parents after they leave home. They are not even told when their parents are released. Baby Gabriel is still having trouble sleeping throughout the night, so Jonas offers to take him in his room so he can try. Jonas accidentally transfers a good memory to the baby and he goes right to sleep. Jonas must use this method every night to get the baby to sleep. His father tells them about a woman who will be having twins in a few days. One of them will have to be released. Jonas wonders what happens to them when they are released. Is there someone waiting to take them when they reach elsewhere? Jonas stopped taking his morning pill. Jonas begins to experience more emotions than those around him and begins to have trouble relating to his friends. He asks the giver to tell him what happened with the older receiver. Her name was Rosemary and he loved her as he loves Jonas. He tried to take it easy on her at first. He started with joyful events, which she loved, but instead of pain, he gave her sorrow, loss, poverty, etc. One day, she kissed him on the cheek and applied for release. Diver thinks about release sometimes, but he cannot until Jonas has all the memories. After his father released one of the twins, Jonas was curious about it. The keeper tells him that as a receiver he can participate of few anything. The proceedings from the release his father performed were recorded. Jonas watched his father wake the baby, give the latest one an injection that kills it, then throw it in the garbage chute, waving goodbye. The giver said that he viewed Rosemary's release. He was told to roll up her sleeve, then administered the injection herself. After his father released one of the twins, Jonas was curious about it. The giver tells him that as a receiver he can participate or view anything. The proceedings from the release his father performed were recorded. Jonas watched his father wake the baby, give the lifeless one an injection that kills it, then throw it in the garbage chute, waving goodbye. The giver says that he viewed Rosemary's release. She was told to roll up her sleeve, then administer the injection herself. Jonas is horrified and refuses to go home. He realizes his father has been lying to him and that his plan. Fiona is helping to kill old people where she walks. The giver tells Jonas he can spend the night with him. And after spending time with Jonas, he agrees that his memories need to be shared with everyone. They have lost the ability to feel. The giver and Jonas devise a plan. On the night of the ceremony, Jonas will leave the community. When he is far enough away, all memories will revert back to the community. Jonas wants the giver to go with him, but he says he must stay to help the people to handle the memories. Besides, he is too weak. The giver says he will soon be with his daughter Rosemary. Already he cannot see colors anymore. When Jonas asks him what he experienced first as he himself saw colors first, the giver tells him the first thing he experienced was music. Jonas does not know what that is since the giver keeps those memories for himself. They pass, the road becomes treacherous and Jonah hurt his ankle. As they climbed the hill, the weather gets colder. But up the top of the hill, Jonas hears music and sees a house that was in the first memory the keeper gave him. He also finds the street and reads it down the hill with careful steps to him. Okay, that's all for my presentation. I do apologize if I have mistakes. And thanks for your attention. And as I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.